Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies. And this is Printing Before Gutenberg by Manly P. Hall. An article from Horizon, Volume 2, Number 5, January 1943. In the year 1045, Pai Sheng fashioned separate letters and printed from type. Printing before Gutenberg. It is still widely believed in Europe and America that printing with movable type was invented by Johannes Gutenberg of Mainz about the year AD 1445. The Gutenberg Bible, published 1445 and 1450, is generally accepted to be the first book printed with movable type, and as such is acclaimed the world's most valuable printed book. All known copies of this work are either in public institutions or have been promised to public institutions at the death of the present owners. As a matter of fact, Gutenberg was not the inventor of printing or the movable type, but rather the inventor of the printing press. While the name of Gutenberg is known all over the world, only a few experts honor the name of the man who actually invented printing with movable type. He was a Chinese commoner by the name of Pai Sheng. Printing from wooden blocks was already flourishing in China when the present Pai conceived the idea of fashioning separate letters that could be used in any combination, thus creating a new and flexible method of preparing knowledge. Pai made molds and cast in them clay characters. These he baked to proper hardness, and for the purposes of printing, sat them in a bed of resin and wax on a flat metal plate. When the letters had been properly placed, Pai heated the metal plate and the clay characters were firmly embedded in the resin and wax. The surfaces were then carefully smoothed off, and any number of impressions could be taken from the day type by the method commonly employed in woodblock printing. This type could then be used again. This invention was conceived and executed about the year AD 1045. Preceding Gutenberg by 400 years. About the year AD 1300, printing from metal and wood type flourished in both China and Korea. The wooden characters were hand-carved and the metal cast in molds. Printing from these types was done on a flat metal or stone bed. The characters were assembled by a number of typesetters and were fashioned in a frame with pegs of bamboo. Ink was made from sot. Candles and lamps were lighted under a metal plate. When this plate had been blackened, the sot was carefully scraped off and made into cakes. These are still used extensively throughout Asia for both writing and printing. The cheaper inks are made from burned pine wood, and the more expensive are prepared according to elaborate formulas. This ink is the most permanent known. One writer says that a page of printing which had fallen into water, remained for centuries, and finally petrified, but the print remained entirely legible. Extensive fonts of metal type were perfected in Korea, which country occupies an early and honorable position in the history of printing. It is most extraordinary that the people with the most elaborate and complicated alphabets should have invented printing. A Chinese compositor's case, if complete, will contain from 60,000 to 200,000 characters. Very few Chinese know or can read all of their own characters. Yet in the midst of this confusion of letters, with its multitudinous handicaps, modern printing came into being. Tibet borrowed from both China and India in the creation of its books. The general appearance is similar to the Olas or palm leaf books of India, Indochina, and Ceylon. The pages are usually considerably larger, however. Like the Hindu books, each leaf is separate, so that the proper name for these books is xylographs. Modern Tibet has a rich religious and historical literature. Books are most numerous, and the people of the country surprisingly literate. This is due largely to the great number of monks whose leisure prompts scholarship. Most Tibetan books are still printed by the woodblock process, although in recent years a few have appeared printed from modern metal type. Tibetan literature is largely classical and almost exclusively Buddhistic. The scriptures have appeared in many editions and are printed in both Tibet and China. Most of the books are devoted to the elaborate and complicated doctrines of Lamanism and are collectively denominated rubbish by the enthusiastic Christian missionaries who try to substitute the story of Samson and the well-known jawbone for the accounts of Lamanist magicians who rout hosts of demons with the thunderbolts of Indra. The library of the Philosophical Research Society has an important collection of Tibetan deity prints. These prints are made from highly prized woodblocks. In the lamasery at Orija, the prints were taken on Japanese silk paper by the native process of printing. The original blocks are highly valued, the Mongols placing a valuation of more than 500 American money upon some of the more finer carved woodblocks. In addition to the block prints are several examples of the Lama's sacred books printed from wood blocks in Peking. The examples were executed about AD 1700 during the reign of Kangxi. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.